This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
The Israeli Deputy Prime Minister, Shaul Mofaz, who is in charge of Iran's nuclear file, demanded that Mohammed al-Baradei, the head of the UN Nuclear Atomic Energy Agency, be removed, saying that he has turned a blind eye to Iran's nuclear ambitions. Mofaz told Israeli radio that al-Baradei's policies are threatening peace in the world. Mofaz made these comments in Washington, where he is supposed to lead an Israeli delegation in strategic talks with the US about Iran's nuclear file.
Israel is using stronger language when criticizing the International Atomic Energy Agency after Iran had declared that it succeeded in installing 3,000 centrifuges at its uranium enrichment facilities. Shaul Mofaz demanded that Mohammed al-Baradei resign from the Nuclear Atomic Energy Agency. Prime Minister Ohud Olmert supported Mofaz by saying that al-Baradei is not a fan of Israel. This is an indication that Israel is increasingly more concerned about Iran's nuclear file, especially considering that Israeli intelligence presented reports indicating that Tehran will acquire nuclear military capabilities by 2009.
With or without international collaboration, Israel will not accept to live under a nuclear threat, especially when the trigger is in the hands of Ahmadinejad.
Israel has kept its nuclear program a secret and has prevented international agencies from inspecting its facilities. And now it accuses al-Baradei of derailing efforts aimed at stopping Iran's nuclear program. Israel fears that al-Baradei's coming report will be to the advantage of Iran, which then will be used as an excuse by Russia and China to not approve more economic sanctions on Iran.
There is procrastination. We do not understand the policy of the International Atomic Energy Agency towards Iran because it gives Iran time to develop weapons.
These developments cannot be understood in isolation from the Israeli raid that was carried out in Syria last September. Some analysts say that Israel wanted to find a safe path for its planes when they eventually attack Iran's nuclear facilities. Meanwhile, the United States also announced that it has allocated $155 million to develop the Israeli HITS anti-missile system. Israel wants to stay the most powerful country in the Middle East. It is concerned that Iran may reach a point of no return with its nuclear program. This leaves the door open for all options, and the previous Israeli attack on the Iraqi nuclear reactor is still in the minds of people. Ilyas Karram, Al Jazeera, West Jerusalem.
إلياس كرام، الجزيرة، القدس الغربية.
The Secretary General of the Policy Committee for the Egyptian National Democratic Party, Jamal Mubarak, said that his party discussed during its last meeting Egypt's nuclear power program and its importance for the country's development. Mubarak also stressed the importance of opening a social dialogue to discuss the energy issue. In a speech before the second session of the 9th General Conference of the National Democratic Party, Jamal Mubarak announced that Egypt must find other energy sources which are sufficient enough for future generations and necessary for the country's development.
It's one of the most important files being discussed at the 9th General Conference of the Egyptian National Democratic Party. The issue has to do with Egypt's nuclear power program for civilian purposes. This nuclear file, which includes finding new sources of energy, is important for future generations and the development of the country.
ودورنا كحزب وطني حزب حاكم نخطط للمستقبل.
Today, we have enough sources of energy to accommodate our national consumption and industry. However, we are looking ahead. We are a society with an economy that is growing at an average rate of 7% a year, and our ambition is to continue growing at that same rate for the next 10 or 15 years. However, we need to find other energy sources that will help our country grow and develop. This is why we are looking ahead and planning for the next 15 years. This revelation has to do with energy sources such as oil, natural gas, and civilian nuclear power.
Meanwhile, Egypt's Minister of Electricity and Energy said that his country is capable of reviving its civilian nuclear power program, which was frozen in 1985 following the accident at Chernobyl nuclear plant in the former Soviet Union. The minister added that nuclear power plants are much safer now than they were 20 years ago. He added that Egypt has enough technocrats at the social and institutional levels to begin immediately building its nuclear power plant.
الأمان النووي النهارده في التقدم والتصميمات الجديدة النهارده في
The new structures of nuclear power plants are now safer than they were before. Also, the current designs of nuclear power plants carry with them a warranty of 60 years instead of the previous 40-year guarantee. This means that the new designs are safer and more solid than they used to be.
التصميم لعمر 60 سنة.
Meanwhile, Egypt's Minister of Oil confirmed that his country's natural gas reserve is expected to last for at least 36 years. However, the minister stressed that Egypt must look for other energy sources besides the traditional sources of oil and gas due to the latter's limited availability.
At one point in time, Egypt ranked number 6 and the United States ranked number 5 on their national scale. However, presently we have been pushed back by China and India, which gained a competitive edge over us in this field. After completing the extension of the natural gas pipelines in the southern part of the Nile Valley and Aswan, all hotels and boats in the Nile River region will be run on natural gas. With this, we will be able to use less expensive sources of energy other than diesel.
In a press conference, Jamal Mubarak said that the National Democratic Party has a hard job to do in the days ahead. Mubarak added that his party has already accomplished many tasks, but there is still more to do. Muhammad Abdullah, Nile, the Egyptian news channel.
محمد عبد الله، النيل، قناة مصر الإخبارية.
A Yemeni court sentenced 30 Yemenis with sentences from 2 years to 15 years in prison. They are among 36 people who were accused of planning and executing attacks for al-Qaeda, as well as detonating explosions at natural gas refineries in the Safar area in the Marib province, as well as exploding oil reserve tanks in the Dabba port in the Hadramaut province.
The preliminary criminal security court in Yemen convicted Nasser Abdul Karim al-Washihi, known as the leader of Al-Qaeda in Yemen, Ibrahim Huwaidi, Qasim al-Raimi, Hamza al-Kuwaiti, Jabir al-Banna, and Muhammad al-Umda for exploding oil facilities in Marib and Hadramaut during the presidential elections which took place last year. These explosions caused major damages and killed one of the facility's guards. They were sentenced to jail for 15 years. The remaining 26 defendants were sentenced with 2 to 13 years in jail.
حكمت المحكمة حوريا بما هو آت.
The court hereby sentences as follows: the 6 defendants who escaped justice, whose ages are between 29 and 34, and who carried out the explosions at the oil reserve tank at the Dabba port in the Hadramaut province and the natural gas refinery in the Safar area in the Maghreb province.
The court also acquitted 4 of the defendants, including Hussein al-Darhani, who was charged during the presidential campaign last year for participating in the creation creation of armed gangs whose objective is to harm security and carry out armed operations against government facilities. The reaction to these sentences was mixed among the defendants, the lawyers, and the defendants' families.
Those who found not guilty are defendant number 9, Hussein Muhammad Saleh Dajani, number 27, Hamid Ahmed Muhammad Al-Hinduwan, number 28, Naeem Muhammad Khussan Ghuram, and number 36, Isa Abdul Saleh Husseini.
What law gives the court the right to hand down these sentences? Where does it get its legitimacy?
The court said what it had to say, and no matter what it decides, we respect that decision. It is our right to appeal the decision, and we will exercise this right.
The sentence in my brother's case is legitimate. We were expecting this result because we were absolutely sure of my brother's innocence.
Heightened security measures and intense media coverage accompanied this preliminary criminal court which specializes in Yemeni security cases. The sentences today pleased some people, but they angered many others. Adil Al-Habbabi, Abu Dhabi Television, Sana'a.
اتهمت قيادة شرطة كربلاء ميليشيا جيش المهدي التابعة للزعيم الشيعي.
The head of police in Karbala accused the al-Mahdi militia under Shiite leader Muqtada al-Sadr of hundreds of assassinations in the past 4 years. They said that these crimes were committed unlawfully under the pretext of Islamic law, which preaches fairness and prohibits the abominable. In the first clear accusation of the Mahdi militia, Iraqi officials issued a statement holding the Mahdi militia responsible for hundreds of unlawful killings and breaches of human rights, as well as instigating chaos and destabilizing the security situation in Karbala. In an exclusive interview for Al Arabiya, the governor of Basra in southern Iraq said that 15 prisoners, including head officials of the Sadr movement, will be released tomorrow. He said that he hopes this will in turn play a positive role in the rebuilding of Basra.
بعد بذل جهود كبيرة وعديدة من قبل أطراف عديدة.
Due to the efforts of several sides, detainees in the Al-Basra airport will be released very soon. This is the first set of detainees who will also be released. And naturally, the arrested brothers will have an important part in returning security, stability, and development in the district.
U.S. forces in Iraq announced the releasing of 500 detainees during a ceremony at Camp Victory near the Baghdad International Airport. During the last 2 months, the U.S. Army began releasing prisoners in their custody who do not pose a future security threat. Baris Al-Madawi reports.
A new set of prisoners were released in what the Iraqi government and United States forces view as a sign of good faith towards national reconciliation. United States forces released 500 prisoners from one of their detention centers west of Baghdad.
This is in the spirit of a comprehensive and all-encompassing reconciliation, which we had discussed.
The release of prisoners took place in the presence of the Iraqi Prime Minister Noor al-Maliki, restoring the freedom of those who do not pose a threat to the security of Iraqis and United States forces.
We strive for cooperation between the multinational forces, which have a large number of prisoners in their prisons, as well as those in Iraqi prisons, towards finding a common language between the two sides. The released persons also signed a pledge that they will not interfere with the alliance or the Iraqi forces, cause trouble, or associate with foreign organizations.
The combined efforts of the United States and Iraqis resulted in the release of those men from imprisonment.
We were arrested and released without knowing the reasons why. We were not given reasons or evidence for either action.
My file was reviewed in Becca on September 27, 2007, and the committee discussed my release.
Al-Maliki vowed before the attendants that in the coming period he will discuss prisoners' amnesty with high officials, excluding prisoners who were convicted of serious and dangerous crimes. But the question is, what constitutes serious and dangerous crimes and who decides? From Baghdad, this is Faris Al-Mahdawi for Al-Arabiya.
من بغداد فارس المهداوي العربية.
People in Pakistan will go to the polls in the next 3 months. That's the promise from President Pervez Musharraf after democracy was put on hold by the state of emergency. Political opponents are stepping up the pressure on Musharraf more and more. Supporters of former Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto are planning a rally in Rawalpindi, and there have been protests in several other cities, including Islamabad and Peshawar. Now, the Peshawar protest was met by tear gas and baton-wielding police. Our correspondent Kamal Haider is in Peshawar.
Well, Peshawar, like the rest of the country, is experiencing a new phenomena. They call them flash demos, where the opposition members just come out and they're protesting, and many arrests made during that baton charge and the tear gas shelling, which continue to control the right. So far, the opposition had not been able to muster enough support to challenge the government, except for these scuffles that spring up, and then there is quiet after that. So far, the opposition not getting its act together, and therefore the protest is more spontaneous and sporadic rather than any large momentum behind it.
Well, former Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto and her supporters are predicting a big turnout for their rally in Rawalpindi that's happening on Friday. They say around 100,000 people will be there to show their anger against President Musharraf. But as Matt McClure found out, the enthusiasm may not be as high as Bhutto is expecting.
Rawalpindi's Raja Bazaar, the real Pakistan, where the struggle each day is just making a living. A place where the country's political battles seem irrelevant, and the latest headlines about arrests under emergency rule are only of passing interest. It doesn't seem to matter who is our leader, says this newspaper vendor. They only think about their own welfare. So far, it's been the lawyers and political activists who've been protesting this emergency rule. Now, Benazir Bhutto is calling on the common man to take to the streets. The People's Party leader wants them to rally in this city Friday, but it seems few here will heed her call. They have neither the time nor the inclination. Emergency rule was the right decision, says this man. The threat from terrorism, the fight with the judiciary had stalled our country and threatened the future. In a country that's known military rule off and on for much of its 60 years, a functioning democracy is a distant dream, something Pakistan's next generation can struggle for and aspire to if stability can first be achieved. Matt McClure, Al Jazeera, Rawalpindi.
And in Islamabad, hundreds of lawyers have again taken to the streets with the state of emergency now in its 5th day. They're protesting, as you can hear, against Musharraf's dismissal of Pakistan's top judges. Former Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto has been meeting with her supporters in the capital, urging them to keep up their protest. Now, this is ahead of that mass rally in Rawalpindi on Friday, which is in fact outlawed by the Pakistani authorities under the state of emergency.
We return to Lebanon, where all eyes are turned to the political deadlock. But due to the ongoing political instability in the country, the focus on other problems have diminished. One of these problems is the environmental situation. In 1 year, 2 main ecological tragedies have hit Lebanon. Israel's bombing of the Jiyeh plant that has caused a maritime catastrophe, and the recent fires that destroyed more than 1,660 hectares of forest this year alone. We have the pleasure of welcoming Mazen Aboud, MCSD of United Nations UNEP MAP program, to discuss this matter. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Sarah. for inviting us. Thank you.
Mr. Aboud, can you please give us a bit of a general overview of the environmental situation in the country?
Okay, as you've mentioned, you've got like too many crises that took place during the last 2 years, actually. You've got like the Israeli war of Lebanon and the problem of the oil slick that took place, and then you've got like the problem of the fires and that's still taking place nowadays. I don't know if today there is any, because there is rain today. So there are a lot of things to talk about regarding the environment. As you've said also, all the attention is toward politics and toward the crises that are in the country. However, the country is also degrading regarding the environmental field and regarding other fields. That's a global view of the situation.
Let's talk about the fires that have erupted across Lebanon for the past month.
Yes.
How much damage has it caused, and how much damage can it cause if it continues?
Okay. Actually, you've got like a real problem. We've got like there was like a big quantity. I believe 1,660 hectares of forests were burned completely. If you want to say that each hectare would contain approximately like 500 trees, so we can say easily that we've lost around 1 million trees in 1 year, and that's too much because it has tremendous effects also on the soil. It has tremendous effect on the climate because as you know, the trees, they've got the moisturing effect of the atmosphere, and you've got also the absorption effect of the CO2 and the production of O2. So I do believe that in 10 years, Lebanon will be a desert if the situation will continue in such a way.
نظمت اللجنة الشعبية لمواجهة الحصار مساء أمس مسيرة.
The Popular Committee for Confronting the Boycott organized a children's march last night in Gaza City, themed Candles Despite the Darkness of the Boycott. The president of the committee is Jamal al-Khudari. The march headed towards the United Nations headquarters. Children lit candles during the march and carried banners in English and Arabic with slogans written on them, rejecting the boycott and calling on the world to intervene and allow the children of Palestine to live like the children of the rest of the world with freedom.
A candlelight march was held by the children of the Gaza Strip, who have become the main target of the imposed boycott by the oppressive forces of the world. The children of Gaza are living under exceptionally difficult conditions, which have exceeded all that is acceptable, despite the guarantees of international humanitarian laws to provide them with the basic necessities of life. The march, which was organized by the Popular Committee for Confronting the Boycott, was attended by its president and engineer, Jamal al-Khudari, who gave a speech saying that the continued closing of the crossings and the prohibition of baby's milk and fuel entering Gaza will lead to a humanitarian catastrophe.
Gaza is now completely closed. The past 3 days, the crossing have been completely closed. All of the crossing in the strip are now closed. Baby's milk was prohibited from entering. Flour was prohibited from entering. All the main food products were prohibited from entering the strip.
The continued closing of Gaza Strip crossings has paralyzed all aspects of Palestinian life. Meanwhile, more than 1,000 sick patients are waiting to be medically treated abroad and are being threatened with a slow death. In addition, all cancer medications have been banned from entering the Gaza Strip.
In Gaza, there are more than 1,000 sick patients who need to be treated abroad, but they are not allowed to leave. These are severely sick patients. They are being threatened with a slow death. Every day, one sick patient is dying because they are not allowed to leave.
The children who went into the streets of the Gaza Strip sent an urgent message to UNESCO, calling for an end to the boycott against the Palestinian people. The boycott has prevented thousands of students from attending universities abroad. More than 1,500 factories have been closed. 65,000 people have become unemployed. The entire agricultural sector has been damaged. The law of the jungle, which is being practiced by Washington, the Zionist entity, and their allies on the Palestinian issue, aims to destroy everything. However, these innocent, smiling children who carry these candles say, if the dark falls upon us, we will all light a candle to brighten our path.
ليشعل كل منا شمعة ليضيء الطريق.
Every day, Israel tries to erase the tree-lined borders of Palestine. But although the Jewish state forcibly takes land, it cannot erase the course of nature. The olive tree remains as a testament and a lasting example. Our reporter Amani Abu Kantash brings us the following story from the Beitin village in northern Ramallah.
كالكب بدي أنسى بلادي أم الزيتون اللي بيجوا لها الأعادي من وين ما يكون
مع إطلالة كل نهار في موسم الخير تحث.
Every day of the harvesting season, Abu Iyad's family heads out at dawn to the fields of the olive trees. With hope-filled hearts, they begin picking the olives with tenderness, as if each tree is a member of their family.
Our identity is tied to this tree. The olive tree is plentiful throughout its lifespan. Perhaps one year it does not bear much fruit, but it never fails to give. The olive tree is a symbol for being rooted in the earth.
Abu Iyad's mother is over 90 years old, but she still participates in picking the olives because of what the trees mean to her, a meaning she in turn has instilled in her children.
This olive oil is like the light of the Creator. God made it like light.
We have a proverb that says, wheat and oil are the home's foundation, which means that if we have both wheat and oil, then we have all we need to live.
The harvesting time in Palestine has its specific rituals, which start with families gathering in the early morning. They have coffee together and start their workday until it's time for breakfast. In this season of harvest and abundance, everything begins tasting differently, and the aroma of oil mixes with the soil. The only way to experience this taste is by participating in these rituals. Among an atmosphere of hope and joy, Abu Iyad heads to the oil press. The most beautiful moments are perhaps those in which he sees and tastes the goods his land has produced. Amani Abu Kantash, Dubai TV, Beitin Village.
أماني أبو هنطش تلفزيون دبي قرية بيتين.
Hi, I'm Jamal Dajani, producer of the show you've just been watching, Mosaic, World News from the Middle East. Just a short while ago, we came to you asking for your help to keep Mosaic on the air. We needed to raise $200,000, and I'm happy to announce that we did it. No, as a matter of fact, you did it. More than 1,600 of you helped us to reach our goal, and I want to thank you on behalf of the Mosaic team right here at Link TV for your support. Stay informed, keep watching, and thank you again.
One Nation, Many Voices, the stories of Muslims in America. At work, at play, having fun. What is life like for the millions of people in this country who practice Islam?
And then finally I looked in my heart.
Even today, Muslims still recite
kind of in limbo.
Now's your chance to share stories of Muslims in America in our One Nation, Many Voices online film contest. We're awarding $50,000 in cash prizes divided among 6 categories: comedy, drama, documentary, animation or music, a special category for filmmakers 18 and under, plus films under 60 seconds long. You don't have to be a Muslim to enter or to vote for your favorite films online. You just have to live in the United States. The new deadline for entries is December 31st, 2007. So hurry. Check out details at linktv.org/OneNation. One Nation, Many Voices. Muslims in America. Stories, not stereotypes.
Get more news about the Middle East online at linktv.org/Mosaic. The Mosaic webpage offers a complete archive of Mosaic programs, program transcripts, the Mosaic video podcast, and the Mosaic Intelligence Report, a weekly analysis of the hottest stories from the Middle East. The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible with the support of viewers like you. Thank you. This program was brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. television network devoted to global and national news, with uncompromising documentaries and diverse cultural programs which connect you to the world.